Okay, we're recording.
Okay, we're recording. Welcome, everyone.
Yeah.
Wait,
Never
we have
heard
someone
you.
in the weight room.
Let him in. Let him in.
Tracy, admit.
Okay, we gotta mute everybody else because we're starting this.
Yes. And Mindy's coming.
Oh, and Mindy. Oh, yeah. Mindy's really cool. Oh, this is so good.
Hello, everyone.
Hi, everyone.
Hello, everyone. Welcome. Is that all we got? Waiting?
That's all we got so far.
Okay, so we'll start now. I'm Heather, and I guess we're gonna talk about human design. So we have Catherine with us today. I don't know where she is on this whole screen compared to you, but she's on my left. And from her is where my origination for human design kind of started, like learning about it and figuring out what mine was, and then just kind of applying it to everyday life and figuring out why I am the way I am. And it's kind of just like been a game changer for how I live, and we think everyone should know about it. So
Yeah. I guess I'll talk. So it's like a ripple effect because Heather told me about human design, and it happened when we were having a horrible time getting my kid to sleep. And so I actually started looking into human design parenting, and turns out he is a projector and he lives in a house of generators, and so he needs a long time to wind down at night, and we just weren't putting him to bed early enough. And so it's just like really helped, especially with my parenting. It helps me to understand my children and their habits a little better, and helps me to be more open and like helping them learn the way that they need to learn for like per their design. So that's how I use it.
yeah, and I'm a projector too. So knowing that, and it kind of like connects the dots on why I've been such a light sleeper my whole life, and I cannot go back to sleep after I've been woken up. Like I can, but it takes me so long. And then most of the time it's projectors are supposed to spend time laying vertically to rest before they're able to fall asleep. So like maybe watching TV or whatever for a little bit. And I've always, slept my best weirdly, like after I fall asleep watching a movie or whatever, because I'm laying down and I'm already tired. So it's just like, that's how my body like naturally rests. And then like there's that other random thing of how we have no sacral energy. So we're like, when we do get it, we want to do all the things, and then we don't know when to rest. And then we finally do rest, we just like crash because we don't know that we're lacking that. So it's just like learning that balance has been like game changer. I'm just like skipping way ahead of like the knowledge, because it just like there's so many levels of it. So it's just like the things that you find out, as you need to learn that.
Yeah, and it explains so much like physiologically, like if you're living outside of your design. Say we have a lot of projector friends who happen to have Crohn's or IBS, or they have some kind of gastrointestinal or autoimmune disease, and like because you lack that sacral energy whenever you're doing sacral things, like without it, it just makes you sick. And when you don't live in your design, that is what makes you sick, like where you lack the energy. That's what I'm trying to say. So it just makes sense that you could be sick for like by living outside of your design. So knowing it and living within it will help to keep you well and like establish a great like realm of wellness for yourself.
And I also think the sacral, I don't know, I've heard this a while back about the energy that you're like storing there. So like you're sick in your bowels or your stomach and stuff. We also like carry extra weight too, and it's hard to lose weight like in your stomach area if you lack that sacral energy, because I don't know. I mean, it makes sense, but I don't know exactly the physiologics behind it.
No, I totally I know I've heard that people I think it depends on Also, hi, I'm Catherine. I think I totally jumped. I think it depends on your balance too. Like I have a completely open head center, which means um, I could pull up a chart. I could share my screen and pull up a chart. Um, but basically what that means is that it's open. So there's 9 centers, and the ones that are colored are defined, and then there's open or undefined. And so basically an open center is one that doesn't have any channels of energy flowing to it. So it's completely like isolated from the rest of your energy body. And my head is completely open, and I know that like anxiety and all that stuff, like a lot of mental health comes with undefined head. But for me, because it's open and it's like completely susceptible to the energy of everyone else, like headaches. And growing up as a kid, I had the worst. I haven't really had them in most of my adult years, but as a kid, especially, my headaches were like debilitating. I couldn't function. I would stay home, miss days of school and stuff like that. And looking back now, I think maybe because as kids we're more impressionable too, and so more susceptible to all of that, the opinions, ideas of others, feeling like I need to compete, and that like inspire myself and be like everyone else, you know what I mean? But I also think maybe that's my open G center too, which is the identity center. There's just so much to talk about.
Yeah.
But for me,
I think we need to mention how you're supposed to find it, because I forgot we didn't say anything about that. So to find your human design,
here, wait,
you need to know your birth time and birthplace, and you can just Google it, find my human design, and enter the information, and then you'll get a chart that she's about to show you, like some examples of what your chart might look like. And like you'll get your type and then your strategy, which it's funny they were saying that thing about, you know, kids being pure energy and stuff like that. I was thinking about Carson, and he's a generator, my son. And so generators respond, right? And I was talking to my friend today that I was with. She is a generator, and she just found out, and this is, you know, new to her too. And she's like, that resonates with me, but I've, you know, just learned how to, you know, hold my tongue and not respond whenever I shouldn't respond. And I was like, well, that makes sense because you're an adult and, you know, you're wiser and stuff. But then when you're a kid, you're just kind of like responding without thinking all the time, because that's what Carson is.
Yeah, and I think it's important to note too, like, at least this is just my interpretation of response as someone who witnesses it, not someone who experiences it. It's not so much verbal response, like that would be a throat center thing, but like it's more like this comes into my life and I respond according to it, versus like me, someone who's a manifester, I'm not supposed to respond. I'm supposed to be the one you respond to. So if I sit around and wait for someone, nothing's going to get done, because that's just not how energy comes to me. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does make sense, because there's just so, like I was saying, there's just so many layers, and it does make sense because of the centers of like what it affects and things like that. And then to manifestors inform, so they have to inform you to be responded to. So that does make sense.
I can't remember my password. Please hold.
Oh my God. Yeah, like, and Chase, my husband, he's a manifester. So projectors and manifestors, what they like, make good friends, but they make bad partners because their communication is off. Because like, if you think about it, men in general don't normally talk a lot, and they're not super emotional, but manifestors are just like, they don't need you for shit. It doesn't matter, you like man or woman, they're good on their own, and they aren't afraid to tell you that either. And being a projector was my favorite thing I've ever heard about projectors, is they have that side chick energy. So they're like always wanting more. Like even if you have given them all of your attention, they're still like, you know, they don't feel good enough yet. So,
well, but do you think it's a wanting attention, or you just want to be seen? You just want to be validated. Like someone see me for who
and that's another thing. It's like there's a few different things, because being a projector, that is the recognition and all of that is one thing. And then I just know that okay, so like as far as my throat center goes, I think it's defined, I think. So
I think I can. Oops,
but I don't really understand that, because like I've always been like weird about speaking up and like talking in public and stuff like that. So I don't defined, doesn't that mean that you say what you want to say?
No, so defined. So here, I have my chart pulled up. How do I share a screen?
Or open means that.
So no, so defined means that you generate that energy consistently for yourself. Undefined means that you don't generate that energy consistently.
Okay.
So you borrow it from other people. And the throat center is a motor center. So like so the throat center doesn't necessarily mean, and this is something that I learned too, and I was surprised to learn, because to me, I thought if someone doesn't have an undefined throat, it means they're uncomfortable talking. Like if it's not defined, it means they're not comfortable. They don't do it well or whatever. But like Oprah has an undefined throat.
Okay, so
it's not necessarily that. It's just you don't. It's more like knowing when to talk. Like you don't have to.
So is it undefined?
It's like knowing when to talk in like your tone.
Yeah, it's being the open centers. Your open or undefined centers are where you can become wise.
So undefined and open.
No. So undefined and open are here. Let me figure out how to share my screen. Undefined and open. Can you see my screen?
It's getting there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is my head. So my head center is completely, oh gosh, hold on. All of my personal details are on here. Help. So oh my God, I can't do it. Whatever. I don't care if you see where I was born. I guess who really cares? I don't live there anymore. So you see here, my head is open. So there's no like red or black line coming from it. So open would mean it's like completely just available to observe and witness the energy of those who are defined. My dad has a defined head center. So when I'm physically around him, sometimes my head just feels like it's going to explode because there's so much pressure. And only until I've learned about this did I realize that that's probably what I'm feeling. But so if you have an open center, it just means that you're able to become wise in that area. You don't generate that area consistently for energy consistently for yourself. So you're not in your own way. You can observe other people and become wiser about your own energy and how you express that energy. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yeah.
So as someone without sacral energy, like you and I, we're able to see very well when people are doing too much. Like I notice it right away. I don't notice it in myself always, but I notice it right away. I watch someone doing the most and I'm like, why are you doing that? You know? For me, this is like a big thing for me as a manifestor. So my authority is my heart center, which is my ego, which means your authority is how you make your decisions in the most aligned way. You get free will. You can do whatever you want, but this is the most aligned for you. And so as someone with a defined ego center, a defined heart center, the willpower center, like ego for all the phrases of the word, people often perceive that as rude, especially if they don't have a defined will center. Then they like think I'm being combative, but truthfully I'm not. And it's been like a big thing for me to kind of work through learning that that's my authority. So the most aligned decision for me is the selfish one. It's not selfish. It's just putting myself first. It lets everyone else off the hook. It makes life easier for everyone else in the way, energetically, in the way that works. Speaking from my heart and not from my head is the way I'm understood. You know, people can't, and I found this too with the right people, that I will just say what's on my mind and they go, oh, okay. Where my expectation is for them to be offended or upset or yell at me. But the right people will just go, oh, okay. And I'm like, whoa, what happened there? You know, like I'm not used to that. So it's interesting, in all the centers that you're open, you can pick up on that in other people and kind of, you reflect it back to them. That's why a reflector is completely white.
Right. Yeah. Oh yeah.
So
there's manifestor, manifesting generator, projector, and reflector.
Mm-hmm.
And then, so who do we know that is a reflector? Is Accurate reflector?
No, I think she's a manifesting generator.
So I'm not
sure. Rare.
Yeah, what is it, like 2% or something like that?
Well, like 1 or 2%.
Of the population, yeah. Teal Swan, if any of you know who Teal Swan is, I know she's a projector. No, she's a reflector, sorry.
I feel like I know a reflector. I'm really pretty sure I do. But yeah, so manifesting generators, they're kind of like sporadic, right? They can do lots of things and they like switch their focus quick, like very often.
Yeah. They're the hybrid of the manifestor and the generator. So where the generator responds and the manifestor initiates, they can do both, which is why they like can switch up all the time, because they can get an idea and respond to it by initiating it versus being initiated to and responding, accordingly, if that makes sense.
Right. Yeah, it does.
But I think it's even with that too, it's kind of hard because,
they would just be self-sufficient.
I don't know if what?
They're just self-sufficient manifesting generators.
Yeah. But I don't necessarily agree that you as a generator can't initiate something in your own life. I think as long as it's a response, then it's fine. You know what I mean? So I feel like the language too is kind of archaic in a way, because to me, like if I was told I can't initiate, like, I don't know, I feel like I would feel stuck.
Yeah.
Constantly waiting on someone else, you know what I mean? But I feel like as long as it's a response, I always view it as energetically like between me and the universe.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I heard a podcast once from AC Brown. It was talking about like being a projector, you're supposed to wait for the invitation, and if you don't follow your strategy, you become your not self, right? So my not self would be bitterness. And for an example, like a big move, like across the country from like maybe Georgia to California, would be something I would need to be invited to. But instead, I've figured out that because it was my idea to just make this happen and move across the country, and I wasn't technically invited to the, it wasn't an invitation that I received. I became like bitter about it, and like especially the first year of this whole situation, and then I broke my leg, and then like all the things just kind of piled onto how I wanted to live in California so bad, but then when I got here it was like totally not what I expected it to be. And so so like waiting for the invitation for like big things like moving and jobs and big life changes is real, like it made me, that's why I went with this, because it's like you can make your decision on what you initiate, right? Because I'll just say, I remember when we had that little tiff about that stupid Starbucks post, and I said that I took it as an
I forgot about that.
Yeah, we had an argument, right?
Yeah.
So, about that stupid fucking post, and then I was like, well, I was just taking it as an invitation to put in my 2 cents, and you're like, well, it wasn't an invitation. I was like, oh, my bad. And then it was just like whatever. But it's just like little things like that is like knowing how we could have looked at it differently before making actions that we do and aligning with our human design will just like make it better.
Right.
In the long run, you know what I mean? Like, stay yourself and not your not self.
No, and okay, so like even in that moment, like not something that I have, and I try to be more conscious of it, but it's like it's very impulsive for me that as a manifester, like I'm really honestly just in my own little world half the time, and I don't realize, like, again, they always say, manifestors, you have to remember your impact on other people. And I don't, sometimes I do things that I think are totally harmless, and I don't realize that maybe it's not as harmless as I intended it to be, because in my head, it's no big deal. And I'm like 5 miles down the road already. Like, I've already moved past this. And so then when I like get called out on it, or like feel like I'm being attacked or like told what to do, then that like triggers this innate like thing in me where I kind of just I'm working very hard to be better at
anger. Is that your not self?
Yeah, and it doesn't cause that stuff doesn't cause anger so much anymore. I've gotten a lot better at that. But what was I going to say? It's just interesting, like knowing how you interact and knowing what your like unconscious behaviors are.
Yeah,
it's helpful. It's helpful. Yeah.
Because what you're saying, like, I see in Chase all the time, and then like Ashley's a generator, and then Carson's a generator. So I see that happening too all the time, like with how it's cool to see the relationships in your life and how they interact too with the different human designs.
Yeah. I'm curious I guess I was going to say, I'm curious how you like sleep is in your house, but since you're both non-sacral, you probably don't have that issue, but like with Carson,
I have quite an issue because Chase doesn't even sleep. He just stays up.
Manifestor thing.
And it's really bad for me to sleep, especially when I'm not interested in what he's watching, and then I just like cannot sleep. I'll turn on soft frequencies, but then that's
a sacral thing. I have that issue too. I'm like caught in that loop right now, actually, where like all of a sudden it's 2 a.m. and I'm like, I have to go to bed, and then I can't fall asleep because it takes me forever to unwind, even though I live completely alone. Like there's no other energy on me in my own personal space. But that's definitely a manifestor stuck in I feel like, what does Vanessa Henry call it? There's this woman on Instagram, her name is Vanessa Henry, and she's incredible. She is also a manifestor, and she calls it, I think she calls it the on buttons, like stuck or something. I forget what she calls it, but stuck in the on position, and you're just like, you can't turn off. So that's interesting. He should maybe review his bedtime routine.
Well, I mean, he knows all about being a manifestor, and it's funny. He'll get it when he gets it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you can't tell him.
Lucky, you have 3. There's 4 people in Ashley's house. 3 of them are generators, and only 1's projector.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think I like that for Thomas though, because it keeps him like fired up. You know what I mean? He's literally got everyone to keep him going. Is he there right now? Can he be on our podcast?
You want to come say hello? Okay.
Look, I have.
I like it. Is it your truck?
Where? It carries excavators.
It carries excavators.
And then that's right in the plants.
Do you demolish stuff with it? Do you knock stuff over?
Here's his head.
That's a loud sound it made.
All right. That's pretty cool. They love it.
That's super cool.
Awesome.
All right. Say good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night, Thomas.
Daddy.
Maybe it's on YouTube channel.
Yeah. Tractor show.
He's so cute. Can't stand it.
I love him. And
He's
so,
just like,
okay, so let's go over real quick. I mean, we're talking for 30 minutes, but like what each design, what their strategy is, and then what their not self would be.
Okay.
Okay, so like I'll go first. So projectors, they feel the need to be seen, and their not self is the bitterness, right? And their strategy is to wait for an invitation.
Yes. I'm Googling the reflector strategy right now.
Oh, okay.
I don't know it.
And then, so what's a manifesting generator?
Manifesting generator is to respond still.
Okay.
Yeah. And their not self is frustration.
Okay. And is if that's the same as
the generator.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the manifester. No, I don't want an audio. Okay, so I found reflector. Reflector strategy is waiting 28 days, which I have my own personal opinions about this. I was actually just talking to a friend of mine who does human design coaching and everything for a living, and I was telling her I felt not bad for reflectors. I just felt like the language was unfair to them, because to me, how can you tell someone they have to wait 28 days before making any decision? Like, life happens. Like, people have to make decisions. Okay. You know what I mean? Like, so I think maybe it's more of a being in tune with your own body and like your own natural rhythm, and the moon, like manifest at the moon and all that kind of stuff.
That's kind of how I feel like it would be interpreted. Like, you see what it is that's happening in your life, and you kind of just observe it for maybe 28 days, and then you make your decision within
like if you were going to get rid of something, or if you were going to move, or
I think that, because I mean, it'd be the same like with a projector. It's like the big life decisions. Like, it's not like you need to wait 28 days to decide what you're gonna have for lunch. You know what I mean?
Right. Or like what if you get a job offer? It's like, do I have to wait? You can't wait 28 days to accept the job. You know what I mean? So I feel like, I don't know. It's that one's interesting. But I feel like because I'm a reflector, I just don't know.
Yeah, but also, don't they absorb like the energy of everybody else? So like whoever they're around, or
it sounds kind of like it goes with like the cycle of the moon. Like they get charged by like the full cycle of the moon, and then after they get their full charge, then they can make their decision, and then they have to just kind of wait for that next cycle again.
Yeah. No, definitely. And I think because the reason why is because they just pick up on everyone's energy. So it's like you have to be able to discern what's yours and not. And then a manifestor is, strategy is to inform. And the not self theme is anger, which I've learned to love my anger. But yeah, the not self theme is anger.
All right, Ashley, you're muting yourself. I was going to tell you to talk, so you haven't heard from me for very much, but it's okay if you biz. I mean, I don't know. It's definitely just been a total game changer in my life, like, period. Like, everything. And I always can relate it back to human design.
I have a question for both of you. What's been the hardest thing for you to work through, or like something that you didn't realize was because of your human design, so now you feel better, but it's still hard for you to like decondition it? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I'll tell you right now. Mine is the self-worth thing, because I know it's like undefined or whatever it is. And I know that like I'll go, and I feel like it works with like my sacral energy too, like how much I might or might not have in that day or that moment or whatever it is. And I'll just feel like super fired up and super confident, and like I, can take on the world. But then there's like literally an hour later, I'm just like, really, should I have posted that picture? Like, like stupid shit. And it's just like, because that self-worth center, what is it? The G center, whatever.
Well, so your identity center is your G center, which I know is defined in you, but the ego center is the self-worth, is the center of worth, the heart center. So
Okay.
you know who you are, but like, because you don't have that ego energy, it's like you get caught up in the.
Yes, that's exactly. And I literally have issues with that every single day. And like, I know, and I'm aware of it and why I'm like that, but it's just like, I have to literally correct my path with that all the time.
Totally. What about you, Ashley? Do you want to talk? No? Okay. For me, I think the second I learned that I didn't have sacral energy, and so I wasn't broken or sick or lazy, like I was just living in a world that wasn't like meant for me, designed for me. Like, I'm not supposed to have a 9-to-5, in my opinion. Like, not that there's anything wrong with that, it just doesn't work for me. I like felt immediately freed. But I think the hardest thing for me has been either my G center, my undefined identity, like my ever-going existential crisis, who am I, why am I here, or my root center, which is the pressure to get things done. So like, because my root center is open, I constantly have 75 lists going on, and if you present me with more than one thing, I feel like I have to do it all at once, and I get like really overwhelmed. And I like, it's been freeing to give myself permission to not have to do all the things. But again, I think because we live in a world that's like go, 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 that has been really hard for me to get around. And then there's the shadow too. I think that comes with the ego center. That's been a little difficult, being perceived as rude or selfish.
Right. When you just know that that's just how you feel and you can't really do anything about it.
Right. Yeah. And it's not like, trust me, that's not that's not how it is.
Yeah. And
people pleasing that comes with it too. There's a lot of like feeling like I have to make everyone happy first. But that I think is a conditioning thing too, as like kids, which I love. Like, that's why I love the conscious parenting thing and like being able to look at it for kids, because all this stuff is, I mean, we're conditioned between the ages of 0 and 7, and then it's up to us to unlearn it.
Well, I mean, imagine like how many kids really don't have learning disabilities, or they, get left behind in school or whatever because they're certain designs learned certain ways, and just like a regular classroom is not good enough, especially when you have like, you might have all 5 designs in one classroom, and then all of these children's energy is everywhere. Like, how can they learn, So I think it's like in my best, like whatever interest to do is to like raise my kids based on their designs, so they don't get lost in that, because I feel like you can live your whole entire life being your not self because of the way that you're parented,
Oh, totally. And if you don't know, like, say your strategy, as a projector, your strategy is to wait for the invitation, but the entire, and truthfully, like, the way we're raised is to initiate, is to say, I want this, like, not to ask. But truthfully, that's only one of the 5 types strategy. Like, that's only 1 out of 5 is supposed to operate in that way. So now you're raising a whole bunch of people to just constantly be frustrated or bitter or disappointed, because no one's hearing them. But in reality, like, they're not supposed to interact that way.
That's like the answer to all of the world's problems. Like, if people just knew and paid attention to their human design and act accordingly, like, there would be no one to argue with anyone, just because they would know why this was happening to them.
Really?
Just like the answer. So annoying, but it's okay. It's new. It's people will figure it out eventually.
Did you see the lawsuit? There was like, I guess, a lawsuit from someone in Italy with human design, because I guess for a while, Jovian Archive, which is like where you would go to get your free design chart, said they owned it because Ra, who created the system, had like some psychic download of the whole thing, and like it was supposedly it was copyrighted, but then this lawsuit determined that it's not copyrighted, it's free information, and anyone can talk about it, use it, or practice it. So that's super cool, because for a while, like I have a lot of friends who are like do this, you know, for a living and talk about human design for a living, and I know a lot of them were like worried, like, am I going to get sued for this? Because I'm technically not certified through the school, you know, but I'm still talking about it. And now this lawsuit, like, basically said it doesn't matter.
It's astrology. Right? So, like, really not.
You broke up. Did that happen to anyone else or just me?
Oh, I was just saying, like, it's like astrology. So,
yeah,
it's more like common knowledge.
Track.
Right, exactly.
It's so good.
Okay.
Wow.
I guess, Mindy, do you have any questions since you're here?
Hold on. Do you have any questions since you're here? I have so many questions.
Ask away.
So I'm trying to figure out what my questions are. I have.
Do you know your design?
I am a manifesting generator.
Cool. What's your
what's my what?
What's your authority? Are you emotional authority?
Sacral. Inner authority? Sacral.
Yeah, inner authority.
What does that mean?
Okay.
There's a question.
I think that is sacral authority, I think is listening to your gut. No, not the splenic where it's like fear, but it's like tuning in with your sacral and like learning that there's a yes or a no response in there. Like it feels a certain type of way. I don't know if I'm explaining that properly at all.
It's like a lie detector test. It's like yes or no is like really quick for me though. So it's weird that it's like wait to respond. Is that true?
Yes.
Wait to respond. Okay, so it was telling me to wait to respond. So I've been trying to do that more often, but I'm very I am a manifesting generator. I'm always going. I run a bunch of businesses. I have a bunch of jobs. I have 5 kids. Like my life doesn't stop.
Sounds like,
and I have to like burn that energy off every day in order to sleep at all.
Mm-hmm.
And then, but when people ask me questions, when they're like, hey, what do you think about this? Like, usually like my stomach, like my gut tells me like immediately I have a feeling if it's yes or if it's no, like immediately.
Yeah. It's a feeling in your body. It's not like, I know the splenic authority is like a gut, like, oh my God, like something bad is going to happen, or, oh my God, something is going to happen, a fear-based almost.
Yeah.
But sacral, I think, is more of like I feel
it's
like
magic. I just like, I feel it. It's just like, yes.
Have you read, so there's this book that I read a couple months ago, and I mean, after I started reading it, I was like, this would be really good for someone with sacral authority. It's really great for anyone, honestly, but you would probably really appreciate it on a different level. It's called Feminine Genius by,
I'm down.
I want to say Liana Silver, I think is her name, but it's all about your womb and your sacral center and healing that energy, listening to that energy, talking to that energy, connecting with that energy. Which for me, as someone who doesn't have that energy, or I do, but I'm not connected to it really. So like that was super helpful for me to just be like, oh, there's something down there. But I think you might appreciate it. I don't know.
Yeah, I'll look it up. I like the title, so I'll definitely look it up.
It's really good.
I don't know. I guess that's all for me. I'm starting to understand it a little more.
What?
I don't know. I just knew like the basic things coming into this tonight, but you guys are talking about a bunch.
I know.
Some of it's going over my head, but some of it's sticking. So I'm just like, okay, the stuff that's sticking is meant for me. The stuff that's not sticking isn't meant for me yet. Like I'll catch up later.
Honestly,
but it's like all these gates, all these hanging gates, and
hold
on. Maybe I can do that. Here, look at my chart. Hold on.
Sure.
Can I flip my camera?
The gates, I feel like as long as you know your strategy and you're through, oh my gosh, okay. Ooh. So you have, is that 10 to 34? Yeah.
Where is that? Up top?
Yeah. 10, gate 10 is my favorite gate. I have gate 10.
Trying to make it focus.
No, it's down, it's off your yellow diamond. 10 to 30.
Oh, yeah. That one's full.
That's my favorite gate. 10.
Why? What does it mean? Tell me what it means.
10 is the gate of self-love. I love that gate.
Oh, okay, yeah.
All about
That
just
sounds
like
me.
knowing, like, it's knowing, it's like self-awareness turning into self-love, like knowing that that is the biggest form of self-love too. It's just the gate of like, I love gate 10. I'm not explaining that properly at all. But
So the fact that I have it full means I'm good at that?
well, you have the full
Like
energy. So I forget what that connector is, but like that energy, like you don't need. So for example, Heather, I know you have 44. You have gate 44. I have gate 26. So say I was like thinking of something I wanted to sell. I had an idea and I was like, I want to make this seems lucrative. I want to make money off of this. I would go to someone like Heather who has a gate 44 to connect that full energy, because I could share that idea with her and she would say, no, I think that's a bad idea. Or yes, I think that's a good idea. So that whole gate where you have a full channel, it's they talk to each other. So you're able to fully express. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I think so, yeah. Yeah, it's crazy. It's a bunch of stuff. It's a bunch of stuff all together.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
This has been fun.
Yeah.
I have so much more to talk about for sure, though. But I mean, I think we're about 45 minutes.
Yeah.
Basically, you'll just like learn it as you go. Like you'll learn something and you'll master it enough because you start to apply it to your life that you're ready to learn to something else. Because now I'm like so deep into learning all the cross angles and like how that is like the literal guideline of how you should live your life. Like that is the guideline for how you are your design.
I'm gonna have to ask you. I'm gonna have to ask you your interpretation on mine one day because I just don't get it.
Mine's so weird. I'm like the left cross of like manipulation or something, or it was just like so weird, and it's like, oh my gosh, and I was just like, okay, I need to just really think about this.
I need to think about this.
What is this?
Revisit later.
Yeah, mine talks about owning land.
Mine is pretty self-explanatory because it's like the right cross of the unexpected, and it just basically means, and I need to do the inner work on myself to, guide the people, be myself kind of thing. And then the unexpected is like my life is full of unexpected things, like a log going into my leg.
Yeah. No, that makes sense.
Yeah.
What is that? What are y'all talking about?
Your incarnation cross.
Yes, incarnation.
That's not on the website I looked up my stuff on. Is it? Is it on every website?
It might be on like the chart with the words, not on the picture.
There should be like a breakdown of your design, and it will tell you. It like tells you your splits, like, and that is always interesting to learn because I usually ask people what their human design is, and then I want to know their split immediately after. So then I can just know how
wait, there's more stuff.
Yeah. And your profile too. Like,
yeah, it's just like never ending. There's so much knowledge.
I have a nodal definition.
Nodal definition.
What is a node? Next, we come to your nodal definition.
I don't know.
And then we come to your incarnation cross.
What's your incarnation cross?
It doesn't tell me. Oh. It's just telling me about. Oh wait. Oh, okay. I have to click on the. Come on, Mindy. Okay, hold on. Left angle cross of obstruction. Do I have to pay? I have to pay to click on this, I think.
Oh,
you could probably Google it too.
Yeah, you don't
okay.
Yeah, don't pay for.
Okay, I'm gonna set this down and Google it.
Another thing I've been really like into, just aesthetically, because your signature, right? So like your signature is how you will feel when you're in alignment. And so if you go to your what is it on the chart? It's oh no, it's your environment. So that whatever that word says, like basically describes the environment that you thrive best in, that you reach that signature best in. And I've been like loving playing with that one too.
What did you say it was called?
Your environment. And then I think your environment style is like how is more specific to your environment.
I don't have that at all.
But I've been like really diving because mine is shores and it just makes so much sense. So like, but every now I'm just constantly surrounding myself with pictures of.
Find that though.
It's on my chart.
Oh, I don't never saw anything about that online.
It's under body. So where the top it says like type, profile, definition, themes, etc. And then there's body, and then your design date, and then it'll say like
Oh,
brand.
you have a different one than me. I have a
Mine is,
different.
I get mine on Genetic Matrix, which I think you can still do a free chart on Genetic Matrix.
Yeah,
Tell you there.
that's where I found the incarnation information.
Yeah. And also your motivation is really interesting too. Like what are you motivated by? And how does that contribute to your not self?
Huh. Yeah. That's cool.
Oh, it's just all.
Yeah. So many levels and layers.
And I know the bottom right arrow is how you manifest, which is a fun one.
Mine's red.
What direction is it pointing? Left or right?
I don't know. It doesn't have an arrow. It's just filled in.
The one on your head?
Oh no.
So like
I
4 arrows on either side of the head?
don't know. I have a different one. It's
Those should still be
not
on.
clear apparently. I can't tell.
It's okay. We'll have to do part 2 or something.
Yeah, I'll need to get a different one that tells me more stuff. Okay, Ashley, let's see that sunset before it goes down completely.
Yeah.
There is no sun left, but we have some good.
Mindy, I hope this was helpful, or I would feel like it was all over the place.
Yay!
Oh, it's so beautiful. See, that right there, that is shores. Like every time I see your sunset, I'm like,
Mhm.
I need
miles from Lake Michigan.
I need it in my life. It's so gorgeous.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you for tuning in, everyone.
Bye. Thanks for having me.
Bye.
It won't let me out.
Hold on, I'm gonna stop.